He didn't yell. He didn't hit. But 317 soldiers saw him die before she ever did anything. Redstone Forge was the kind of foundation where personalization stuck to the air like gunpowder. It's clear, very hard to get rid of and can't be washed it was. Known for making tough warf, soldiers leaders with steel spines. And ghosts never really leave the field, even after the conflict was over. It was thickened a place where orders weren't asked questions and authority fell like a steel chain. But Captain, something happened when Mara Conincaid got there. Began to shake in that chain. She the cop wasn't the tallest person, didn't say anything very loud, did not do well in medals or rank, but she had one more thing, being the kind that made. Even high-ranking unseused, they straightened their backs when she came in. A place. It's not because they're afraid. She didn't need to get up. She was in charge off clarity, correctness, and a more challenging to bring up. It could have been her eyes. Sharp bit tired. Not because I didn't get enough sleep, but from my own experience. The 32-year-old combat captain has been on one tour and two in Kandahar, Syria, and a Purple Heart she didn't say. And more lives saved more than she could count. She never bragged and didn't remind others if she had seen. That wasn't her. Deathy daughter of a marine drill instructor and a teacher who had her learn by heart there was Marcus Aurelius before algebra. Maratu guidelines to follow as you grow up. Do the work ordnant, put on the boots and talk to never steal, volume. Joined the army, not to leave a legacy, but to get something without she could be given. She trained more than anyone else, remained longer and found out everything doctrine instead of just theory and tactics. But how the command worked and where it went, the dark came down. When she got two, she had previously earned the Redstone Forge. Those who appreciated it without saying. Anything skill over charm. But respected, keep her safe from the threat that was coming. Because Colonel Everett Roarflew Redstone was like a private empire for 6 years. Years connected. Ornamented and afraid. Heckled command presence. Some people just called it bullying. Ice in his 50 she's tone, his shiny boots that no one ever saw filth, and eyes that don't blink, simple measured. When Mara first met him at the police station, scarcely looked up during orientation, he said softly, another soft promotion. She could hear it absolutely fine. She didn't flinch or say anything. She just held his stare for too long. And the war started right away. Now with orders, not yelling, but with acts that are precise. Briefings in which Hein erupted her in the middle. Training notes, he would give them back to her once she wrote them, in his name. There is a red pen on every page, overthinking. Don't make it too hard. It wasn't criticism. Cause was erosion. Also, Mara didn't fight back. Not yet. Because in there is no conflict in places like Redstone at first. You are a good fighter. That officer briefing this week, the stress finally broke through the surface. Captain Mara Conincaid gave her usual siprep. Clear, correct, every word was backed. Up with intelligence. Shabraut highlighted 3 things that didn't add up in a supply decline near the southern border. Just the facts. Nothing more. Colonel Everett Roar cut her off before she could finish. The hand waved slowly. A sigh third more than any small thing. Will follow the usual steps. I am neither to micromanage junior officers. The silence that followed loud. She was not a junior. Officer. She was in charge and was a captain chain. She was next in line, if anything ever crossed his mind. The comment wasn't knowing. The shot was a sign. Mara didn't answer, at least not in a way that was clear. She nodded once and sat down. On the other side of the room, the officers shifted in their chairs. Some people are looking right at it while others are ignoring it. Her before quickly going back to their notes. No one said anything. Later in the messel chouant, by a lieutenant's table. One he's shooting, she murmured to the other person. Conincaid, watch your back. For her, she didn't pull away. She put it in the file like a target for a mission briefing. Keep your back straight. Don't go back. It came 2 days later. Full gear. Surprising test of endurance. Out of the blue, go. Take answer. All things send her a sun that won't let up. Justra didn't even realize that her unit had been called up. He didn't want to keep it a secret, embarrassed, and broken. He wanted her failure caught on film. No doubt, but one of his mistakes was that he didn't think enough. The people behind her, like Marashi, didn't demand respect. She earned it. She bled and trained with them. Never told her to do something she wouldn't to follow her own lead. That same day, her group stood in line, hot and wearing a hefty Kevlar eyes that hurt. She came up with a helmet on clipped, a 19-year-old. With a rifle slung private, just starting to wear the uniform, she said, "You don't have to do this. With us, ma'am." He got a glare from Mara, steady and even, and said, "If they want to, they'll have to see me break first." They ran. They didn't just finish the circuit. They won. Every single one of them from the upper tower of them. Roar watched with lips pursed and looked like he was ready to snap the clipboard. 50%. That night, Mara found a slipped letter in her locker. $5, no name, he is losing his dignity. Get ready by Fiat. The conclusion of the week. Roar revised his plans. No more public strikes. It was paper now. Gloomy cutbacks, delays in supplies, refused promotions. Drills that were canceled, and he started to stay away from her, which was much worse. Totally telling her direct lie to foreigners. Military Mara thought it was just bureaucratic noise, but it was. Knew better. These were correct. Assaults aimed toward her instead of her rank power. One night during a review staff, Sergeant checks in at the motor pool. A big, quiet man named Holt McCready came up. Voice. "We can see what he's doing after 15 years. Doing we are behind you, Miss Chat." She nodded with a calm voice. "Enough," he said after a pause. "He is no longer poking the bear, getting about to end." After she nodded again, "Let's go be ready when he swings." 3 days he did later when there was a live fire. Mara, act in front of 317 troops, made a change. A simple field moving things around as usual, yet from the sidelines. Roar said in a broken voice. "Like thunder over the field, Captain, who gave you the power, Conincaid?" She turned to ignore my formation. "Calm down, sir." I saw a flaw on the left side and showed initiative as rules. "You don't need to make that choice," he yelled as he got closer to her. The air altered, froze, and eyebrows went up. Then he got too close to her, closer than the law allows. Breath her face, her hand slowly raising. Not but his hand was hitting, and rising, it was up, but not down yet. Raised clearly and in a militaristic. Wayfield with 317 men in sight. Gesture was really important. It was a warning, a statement of danger. It was power. But it was more than that. Mistake. Because Captain Mara Conincaid had spent her whole career knowing how to recognize danger. Not just the kind that wears a uniform, but it's a secret one. Behind. One. She didn't move. Because she wanted all the soldiers to be there to figure out what it really is. This wasn't trizing. She hadn't brought up any problems. Colonel Roar moved in closer, his lips nearing and curling up. "You think you can do? You want to make me look stupid in front of my men," she answered. "They're not your men, Captain." I thought out loud. I followed Field as she spoke without stopping, "Sir. You taught me how to do protocol. It should have stopped last month, but Roar wanted something other than the truth, following orders. He wanted fear, and Mara had it. I'll show you how. I've nothing else to contribute. Something else right now," he snarled. Then he struck. It was a flat hit, not a slap. A blow to the palm that was meant to hit, akin meant to hurt and leave. A mark. But his hand didn't land. The time he jerked her shoulder forward, as training took over. Everything slowed down. Years of living in small spaces and doing Krav Maga fight. Exercises for live capture, the lesson seared her left hand into. Reflex. Jumped up and grabbed his wrist in the air. Turn, leverage, break through, and crack. Echoed across the drill field like a 317 troops flinched during the live round. Some did it without thinking, while others were in shock. Got down on one knee and couldn't speak. He opened his mouth and took a harsh breath that stuck in his chest. His right arm was hanging down and bent a little. "Mara, don't ever bend your arms. Let him go straight now. No anger, no forceful breath. Just keep your control coiled and exact. Her voice, as she stood over him, even when it's cold. You will never lift your colonel. Put your hand on me again. Shouts of shock through the ranks. Nothing changed, dared, from the edge of the yard. The medic went ahead and started to call for help. Roar didn't say anything, not able to. Maybe his face and eyes had gone pallid, wide in astonishment from the pain, but more than not being able to control that. Mara turned slowly and carefully, peering over the formation, staring into the soldier's eyes, soldier after soldier, and as she said, her voice carried. The formation is still there. They did what they were told because of their station, but Becca's. That changement, it hadn't asked for respect, gained and written in the ground under their shoes. In the tower above, Major Glossman and a few younger the officers were shocked. No one had expected this, as they had thought for a long Timur's behavior could explode one day, but no one thought she would be Theon. To make the stillness inside explode, the drill was called off after a few minutes. Troops were sent home, but just a few moved quickly. The base had changed. Whispers spread like fire, faster than any radio could possibly perform. Did she really break his arm? He tried to, she didn't even blink. Back in Mara was sitting at her desk in her room, without a helmet, hands interlocked and not moving, shaking. But not because of the takedown, because of the restraint it had taken to stay away from More. Even though she didn't mean to hurt him, not in public, she wouldn't be embarrassed. A knock, about her warriors. No more staff sergeant, 3 crisp beats me greedies. Face was unreadable, but his eyes bright. Captain, the words are already moving up the line. I thought she was giving me a nod. Look past her into the quiet off back to her when he left the room. You didn't lose someone today. If anything, ma'am, you made more money in 20 than most people do. Years she hadn't smiled yet. This won't be the end of it. No, it's only the beginning, ma'am, he said. Anger had never been the problem. It had been about a line and what happens if you cross. It's someone crosses in front of 317. Witnesses, as needed per protocol. Captain Mara Conincaid got a call to the chamber had steel in it, which was employed in the administrative department. But in bright chili, behind the deskit, was a rule that Colonel Felix Meyer had to sit down. A man from the Pentagon Square was flown in. Shoulders, brief words, and no chepting things that aren't clear. On the display, 3 different versions of the time behind him played, over and over again. Helmet with drone camera watchtower, video, and the same thing, motion, same result, 1 hand up, 1 takedown. Mara took over, but he hesitated. The feed. Captain, sit down. She did. Meyer leaned forward and tapped his pen. On the table slowly, the Colonel Rasu shattered the radius. He broke it, says that you attacked him completely and in public, the battalion's point of view. She didn't move. He raised his fist. To smack me? Heg of a nod. The footage backs this up. But dude did attack a higher-up with force officer. That is important. Her tone was level. He tried to attack. The Tulso has weight. They sat still. Neither side blinked for a second. Truth like a sealed door between them. Unavoidable. Unquestionable. Why didn't you? He said, calm down. Toad, wait a second. Yes, I did. I stopped the strike. Minimum force and maximum force before landing control. Mir took a deep breath, lay back, and tapped the screen again. You should, he told us, to get ready for a formal hearing, but something isn't quite right. He moved his hand towards a growing stack of printed demos. Since the event, I've gotten more than 30 statements that weren't asked for. Long brief signed. Anonymous, and all say the same thing. He stared her straight in the eye. They assert that this was not an impulse. It weighs about being in charge of yourself. You didn't act poorly, for the sake of principle, but also for the sake of ego. If it would there have been someone else in your place, there would have been blood if they had. Maria looked at him quite closely. There it almost was. He gave her a short suspension. No scolding, no handcuffs, just the way the paper moves across teal. Soldiers stood outside without saying a word. Groups they didn't salute, but they also didn't look away. There was a judgment. But nothing else. Acknowledgement and respect. Staff Sergeant McCready met her close to Thepithway. They are taking you out of the line. She nodded till they decided to stop. Assault is still against the law. Hester to the field behind them. This Besson needed a reckoning. You just lit the fuses close by. A group of privates came together under the barracks canopy. One of them was Private Lorne, wide-eyed and loud-sayed softly as she walked past. She didn't back away. That night, Mara didn't touch her, read, or eat shoes. She sat on the side of her cot, looking at her hands without shaking or sorry. Please stay still. Redstone at daybreak. Redstone Forge didn't seem like Forge. Not anymore. Orders and looks without words longer. The air was different, more clear. As if it had heard Thethy night before, stuck to the door outside, it was a rough pencil with no name on it. Make a drawing. One of the troops got up. Back there was a shadow with a raised hand above her, but the soldier didn't back down. Didn't look back. There were things just above the picture. 5 words, strength doesn't make a sound. It just knit, moving. Also, Redstone that morning turned into something different. A bass full of voices gently coming out of whispers. If they weren't scared of the shattered arm. Someone broke the hush and droned in to fill it. In the morning, a new person came to Redstone. McBrigadier General Curtis was loaded. Face and boots shined up like a mirror received straight from Army HQ. Can't read it. The damage from his job was minimized, but the fire was already out. Of the box. Had talked about a private meeting with the legal counsel and General Huxley. The orders were short. Take care of Thethy's story. Stop the noise. Keep Redstone away from the news. But it was too late. Military forums were already on fire. Atha phrase was well known in veterinary networks. The snap could be heard all around the base. Not known sources that lesser officers probably let slip that the Army's own investigation had found more than 30 complaints already against Colonel Rohr. Some are new, some are old. Put on hold, some quietly settled moves. By lunchtime, Rohr was taken out from the hospital base. No media, no pronouncements, just a lawyer's release calling the incident a job murder and toxic blame feminism. There was an immediate response. A few whispered support in quiet places. But Beth officers and other enlisted people put up after taking off their rank tabs. 6 words to them. Protect those who protect each other. That night, Captain Mara Conincaid was called to in General Huxley's office. General Ledden? He didn't offer a seat, only a glance. Said it straight out, Captain. You've built quite a good name for yourself. She didn't pull back. They say I didn't ask to. Ledden said. Mara said no. Getting closer. But now, journalists say Senator is calling to get more information. Veterans are coming together. And you have become the voice of something. He leaned in. Movements don't have leaders. Follow orders. Mara stared him in the eyes, not even blinking. Also, covering for people who hurt other people. It hit like a charge, waiting for a fire. Huxley even flinched. But then he spoke louder. Sir, with this story is out, so please respect it. Either you should take the lead in the conversation, or you can become lost by it. Ledden let out a loud sigh. Okay then. He looked back at Mara and said, we can handle it. You have moved to Westfield. Command. It's a public marketing. It's a fire break. Mara raised an eyebrow. You're not being quiet. You are making me louder. Let on deed. Reaction. He only nodded once before moving on. Boots echoing down a hallway that they attempted to stop, being scared by her steps. Hide the story, but they only put it in the ground.